Hello and welcome to the Listening Post's unboxing channel on YouTube. Today I'm clearly not unboxing anything. I guess every now and again I like to share some of the wisdom associated with the years that I've been in this industry. And a very common question is associated with, at the budget end of things, what feature and quality set people might be looking for. And so I thought I'd discuss some of our more popular budget amplifiers and some of the things that people might look for when buying them. The first is an NAD and the second is a Yamaha. The model and the cost is irrelevant to what we're talking about. It's really about the feature set. It's about understanding some of the things that might drive you to purchase one over the other one depending on what's involved. The first we'll look at is this unit from NAD. Now, it's a little compact amplifier, very well reviewed, lovely sound quality and a great build quality. Big toroidal power supply off to one side feeding its transistors. It's going to deliver the claimed wattage with ease. It has a traditional volume control, which means it has a stop and a start point. It means it's an analog volume pot, unlike a rotary encoder that's sending signals to components within. The signal is passing through it. It's a very common approach. Feature-wise, it features balance, bass and treble, and the ability to defeat or turn off the signal that might pass through that. An infrared sensor and a 3.5mm socket for a little portable device of some kind. Turning it on and off as far as the inputs and outputs, I mean, it simply lights up and you can select it from a push button. What it's got though from a feature perspective, and why I want to talk about it and then its Yamaha rival, is this is a traditional analog amplifier. It has no digital inputs. It is designed specifically for good quality bookshelf speakers or compact floor standing speakers. It's rated 40 or 50 watts and it delivers everything it claims. There's a superb phono stage on board and a basic ground for it, and then all of the analog inputs. Now, from an explanation perspective, yes, CD, video, auxiliary and tuner, but these are just screen printed labels. You can utilize these for anything you might like. If you're connecting it to a television, then sure, the video input seems more logical. You've got the auxiliary and again the tuner, which you may or may not have in place. But if you've got a streamer, maybe that's your tuner. You know, this type of logical thing. The binding posts are a traditional 5-way binding post, and there's one set associated with the right and left. 5 ways talks about how you can use spades, bare wire, looped wire and bananas. Originally this would have come with some little plastic caps in them, because in the European markets often banana plugs aren't allowed to be used. Where here in New Zealand it's the most convenient, so we immediately remove them and away we go. But if I tilt it backwards, you can see that from the top it's pretty straightforward to be able to connect some of the speakers. Nevertheless, this is compact, it's reliable, everything you might need and nothing more. As I said, it's got no digital inputs. It's a traditional analog amplifier in every way. Now, putting this off to one side, we see a substantially larger amplifier, yet on paper very similar wattage. The fit and finish, or the physical size of this, is associated with 3 models in the range. This, the junior one, is the 301, they do a 501 and 701, which increase the quality and size of amplification on board. Unlike the NAD, the input selector isn't a series of buttons, but a rotary encoder, allowing you to be able to quickly sort of select, and with that the lights light up what it is doing. There's a few more inputs on this particular one, which gives it perhaps a better feature set. It's got a good phono preamp, tuner, and again these are just labels, CD. But what's unique about this one in its price is the fact it has a combination of basic optical and coaxial digital inputs. Like the NAD, it has a traditional analog volume control, not a rotary encoder, and instead of a defeat switch or a bypass switch, it's got a pure direct button to eliminate the bass, treble and balance controls. Unique to the Yamaha, they have a loudness feature. Now, the loudness feature is more associated with slowly reducing the dynamics, so that at certain times of the day when you don't want too much bass, penetrating through the rest of the house or offending other people, you can use that loudness feature, often in conjunction with the volume. As you turn the loudness down, you might turn the volume up, and it sort of gives you a sense of all of the musicality without really affecting things too much. Nevertheless, it also has a traditional balance control and bass and treble. The advantage of this, of course, with this sort of retro design, you can very clearly see at a glance why there might be only one speaker working, for example, and whether or not you want to adjust the bass or treble or whatever it might be. So these large volume pots mean that you can at a glance see if there's a problem or make adjustments appropriately. Now, what makes this a little bit more unique, and I'll show you at the back, is that the amplifier actually has A and B speakers, and the ability at the front to turn the speakers off, select A, select B, or put A and B. And that's a feature set that the NAD doesn't have. Tilting it forward, you'll see that it's probably got a little bit of wasted space. Well, that's not really. Firstly, it means that you can stack things on it or it on things as part of a traditional form factor. And it means that at a glance, the larger amplifiers don't look so intimidating. They're all part of the same sort of cookie cut model. It also means that lots of space for ventilation, and that could be an advantage, particularly in a tight space. It's got a big power transformer, although it's not toroidal, off to one side as well. It's worth mentioning they both have a connected power cord. Now this is probably about hitting a very cost-effective price point. The 501 and 701 have disconnectable power cords, the traditional IEC, and so do many of the better models in the NAD range. So at the back we'll see an increasing number of dissimilar features associated with the budget NAD one. Again, it has a phono preamp and ground, and off to one side a dedicated CD input. As I alluded to on the front, it's got an array of different inputs selectable from the front, but it also has tape outs, enabling you to sort of link this in different ways. The tape loops used to be utilised when recording and monitoring tapes, of course, but now they can be utilised for a number of other things, perhaps to link it to larger products or take a single input and daisy chain it into other amplifiers for perhaps a larger environment. What makes this unique over the NAD is a series of features. The first is that at the rear it's got a 5-volt USB. Now, this is ideal to power a Bluetooth receiver or something convenient. It's one less plug pack and power outlet utilised, and it's a little bit tidier. With the fact that you turn this off and it kills the power to this is also a little bit of a power saving as well. What we've got is a single coax and then a Toslink optical input. So from a feature set perspective, this amplifier has an advantage over the NAD because it's got the ability to plug easily in things like televisions. If you've got a basic, modest CD player, you'd probably utilise the coax input to bypass the perhaps dated digital to analog converter in the CD player and use the coax in. The other feature set that this model has is a subwoofer output. Now, there's lots of ways of plugging in a subwoofer, but one of the simplest, particularly for a modestly priced subwoofer, is to use a traditional mono output of a amplifier into the LFE input of the subwoofer. What we'll see beside it is a standby function. Now, this is sort of power saving. It's an auto standby. Set to on if nothing is touched. It doesn't receive an IR command from the remote control, or you change the volume from the front, or bass, treble, balance, anything, any interaction with it for about half an hour, then the unit will actually put itself into standby. It's to save power, obviously, but there's also a very convenient way of being able to sort of set and forget. You might let the music finish and wander away and live your life and know that the amplifier is going to turn off. The other significant difference is that this unit has A and B speakers, so you'll see a duplication of the binding posts. They're clearly labelled A and B, and each of them has right and left. Now, with A and B speakers, this is not a 4-channel amplifier giving you the ability to buy amp products or distribute things into a heavier weight sort of environment. This is still dividing the onboard amplification between the two available outputs. So the kind of analogy I like to use is that, this is like plugging in a second heater into the wall outlet. If both heaters are cranked to maximum, you'll probably blow a fuse. The same analogy works well when you've got A and B speakers. If they're both ticking over quietly, then it'll offer no real issue as far as the load to the amplifier. But start cranking it, and those peaks and troughs associated with dynamics and music are going to really start to tax an amplifier, particularly one of this size. An advantage perhaps with A and B is that at times you may choose to by-wire your speakers. Now, a by-wire environment is where typically you'll have 2 banana plugs at the amplifier end and 4 at the speaker end, creating a dedicated circuit for the highs and lows associated with the speaker. The advantage of an amplifier with A and B speakers is that you could then go 4 to 4, duplicating the connections at the amp. Now, it's a very minor improvement when you do that, so don't think that you're suddenly going to double the quality of your output by wiring with a 4 to 4 configuration. Most of the economics is found in a 2 to 4, and it means that from a complexity of use perspective it can simplify things. It's not unusual for people to inadvertently forget or leave only the A or only the B switch on, and suddenly revealing things not sounding too good, go up to the amplifier and click it into the right position, surging that load through the amplifier and through the speakers and potentially creating problems. So for people that aren't using 2 sets of speakers and are considering a by-wiring environment, I'd probably recommend a 2 to 4 approach rather than utilising all of the outputs from the amp. Now, it's got a little switch over here. It's about impedance matching. It's about ensuring that when you are selecting a couple of speakers, the amplifier won't get overloaded, but that's a simple little thing as well. So, these 2 amplifiers, loved by myself and my staff, but each has an advantage and disadvantage. Physics, this is small, this is big. This has A and B speakers and some digital ins. This is focusing its attention and budget on being a true analog amp. So there's a little bit of chat, a little bit of information about some of the differences between 2 really successful budget amplifiers that are sold day to day here at the Listening Post in Christchurch, New Zealand. Thanks for watching. If you want to see more, subscribe to our channel.